Hey everybody, it's Charlie from Daily Motor, and today we're going to take a look at my personal 2001 Porsche Boxster S. I picked this car up back in, must have been late 2017 for a grand total of $12,000. I am the fourth owner, and the previous owner was a coworker of mine, and the owner before that was an engineer at GM who I knew as well through car stuff. And the first owner was some guy down in the south part of the country who barely drove the car. So when I bought it, the car had 46,000 miles on it. It's in great shape, as you can see here, and I've owned it for just almost 3 years. And now it is time for it to go on to its next owner. Another person more or less involved with the Lemons racing. She's going to take the car on and enjoy ownership post me. So we're going to go around, take a look at some of the fun things about the car, talk about ownership of a 20-year-old Porsche, take it out for a drive, listen to that flat six howl for a bit, and wrap things up. So for those of you who don't know, Porsche Boxsters have the engine in the middle of the car. So up here you got a big old front trunk, or Frunk, as a lot of people like to call it. You got your spare tire here. It's just a donut, but it is effective. You got your amplifier for the radio, and then your battery rests right here. No, here. Some other stuff that goes there. Looks like I'm missing a screw. I don't know where that went. You can see over here there is one. Good old 20-year-old car things, but a lot of space in there. That's one of the reasons why I wanted a Boxster, was all of the space it provided for being a convertible. Has just the same amount of space as a C5 Corvette, but broken up into two different compartments. And back here, you've got kind of a standard trunk. It's flatter, wider than the Frunk. Over here, you've got your coolant level, oil level, a dipstick you can check, and a place to add oil, but that's just about all the access you get to the engine. If you want to get all the way to the engine, you have to put the top up into service position and then take off some of the panels right there, some of the carpeting, and then you can get into the engine compartment. Now this is not the original top. In 2001 they had plastic rear windows, and I had the original top when I bought it, but I opened the top once when it was about 45 degrees and the plastic cracked. So I ended up picking up this top and replacing it. Now it has a glass rear back with a defroster. This car is also very low. It's on the Euro Sport suspension, so it was the lowest suspension that Porsche offered for the Boxster. So I don't know the exact millimeters it sits lower, but it is quite low. You got to be careful going over speed bumps. But it gives the car a good sort of stance. And I will open the top at the end of the video here. We'll drive a little bit with the top down and then do the wrap with the top. So if you want to see how it looks with the top down, fast forward to that. Other modifications that I did not do, these clear lights, they're not amber like they would have been in 2001, so those have been replaced, as well as these side markers would have been amber. Those have been replaced, but the front headlights are still amber, and I don't really mind it with the blue. Other colors it would bother me more, like a silver or yellow, but it doesn't go too bad with this, the orange and blue. There is a clear bra on the car. You can see that line that goes across, keeps things protected. It'd go a long way to darken this material up if you use some of the over-the-counter blackening type materials. Make that look a little better. But other than that, I've been happy with the way it looks. A little bit dirty along the sill there. I could have stood to clean that off, but I didn't really clean the inside up too much. I did vacuum it, but right when you get in, it just brings more stuff. So you've got some cool things in here. I don't know how well the camera's going to pick it up with the bright sun, but when we bring the top down, you know what? Let's just bring the top down right now. It'll look good. Automatic top. Goes a little bit faster when the car's running. No need to have the air conditioning on right now. You can see we've got color matched interior bits here. Does have an aftermarket Pioneer radio That gives me Bluetooth audio, Bluetooth phone, as well as navigation. A little rudimentary, but it works. Got a cigarette lighter. A little storage area from rearranging. I think when the car was new, the HVAC would have been either here or here, and then the radio would have been one of those two places as well. So it's been rearranged nicely, and the cup holders actually might have come out of here, and those have been removed. So they actually, at one point, would have functioned as CD holders, CD case holders. Some aftermarket Pioneer speakers as well. You've got storage in the door. You can see we've got a bunch of napkins in there, as well as my wallet and some sunglasses. No glove box in the 2001 model, but more door storage there, as well as a little lockable center console. Keep the sunblock in there, and then you do have some storage back here as well. Color matched roll bars, which you can kind of only see from up out of the car. Those look nice. And the car really has a nice look with the top down. Very crisp, clean. I think the fried egg headlights are coming to look a little bit, I think the fried egg headlights are starting to become a little more accepted nowadays, now that 90s and 2000 things are cool again. Yeah. So we'll drive a little bit with the top down, but it's going to sound better with the top up, and I'm going to be cooler with the air conditioning on. So put on my little earmuffs that help you guys not hear so much wind when I'm driving. It's not a particularly loud car. I know that some people who own Boxsters that want to have them a little bit louder put aftermarket exhausts or do modifications to the stock exhaust, but as much as I would like it a little bit louder, that's not really the ethos I'm going for with this car, so I've kept it stock. In general, I don't like to do a lot of car modifications. I like to keep my vehicles pretty stock. Nice and easy over the speed bump. One thing that was done to make the car sound a little bit better is what's called the de-snorkel mod. So there's a little air snorkel on the side intake there, but if you remove it, it's supposed to give the car just a little bit more of an aggressive intake sound. And it does sound good on full throttle, so I assume that's helped out by that. And one of the reasons I picked the Boxster over some of its competitors, like the S2000 and the Z4, was all of the usable amount of torque. S2000's engine revs really high and makes good power, and it's fun and everything, but for daily driving, you have to wring it out so much to get the torque, whereas this car, you can kind of just lean on the throttle, you get plenty of power for driving around. The car does have a short throw shifter on it, and I'm not a huge fan of it unless I'm driving really aggressively. For daily driving, it's kind of hard to get in and out of gear. The car is running on Pilot Super Sport Performance summer tires. Rears are getting pretty low in tread, but for dry days like this, they're still perfectly good. One thing that's always impressed me with the Boxster is just how wide it is with the top down. You can cruise at highway speeds here. Here's 70 miles per hour, and the wind really isn't too bad. I can wear a hat, I can have a conversation with somebody in the passenger seat. Other than other Porsches, I haven't been in a convertible that's this smooth and free of buffeting at speed. Even with new cars. Alright, so what we're actually going to do is we're going to go this way. We'll pull over. You can see it does go much faster when the car is running. And we're off. Now, of course, right when I came out to go filming today, the brake wear indicator was on. Now, my brake pads are fresh, so what I'm thinking probably happened is one of the brake wear indicator cable, like wire sheaths has gotten wore out, and the wires are touching and making connections saying that the brakes are worn, but it's just old car ownership, I suppose, so I'll have to look into that. It's such a satisfying car to drive. There's something about this era of cars and in a sports car like this. It's still hydraulic power steering, it's still naturally aspirated engine. It's just enough power to be fun, but not so much that I'm constantly speeding everywhere, especially like super high illegal speeds. And it's just a very raw, rewarding experience. I feel every single bump through the steering wheel. You can see the wheel moving around. It feels every little bit of road undulation. Yeah, just listen to it sing. So throughout my ownership, I have had to do an alternator, a water pump, and I did the serpentine belts precaution, as regular maintenance when I first got it. What else? I have done pads and rotors. It was definitely its original rotors. I did put in new rear axles, mostly because the CV boots were ripped, and when the interior boots are ripped, you have to just replace the whole axle. And when you factor in labor, it's actually cheaper to do new axles than it is to pay somebody to fix the outer boots and repack them and everything like that. So, job wasn't too bad. Did have to take the exhaust off, but it really wasn't too bad. I've done all the work on it myself other than the water pump and a brake bleed. The reason I didn't do the brake fluid flush on my own was because of the PSM, Porsche Stability Management. You can't bleed the brakes without the Porsche computer. And then the water pump was because I was actually on a trip down to the Tail of the Dragon in Tennessee, and the water pump went out in Cincinnati, so it wasn't exactly near my home garage, kind of just had to get it done. All right, let's get up on the highway here. Capable of some speed around that corner compared to some of the press cars I drive around here. It's impressive. So not the quietest car on the highway, but one reason I did like it over some of its competition is the fact that it cruises at a relatively low RPM. So here up around 70 miles per hour, we're cruising like 2,800-ish. That's a lot better than, I think the S2000 cruises at like 3,500 or $4,000 around this speed, so it's just another check plus for the Boxster. However, I do kind of wish I would have put more consideration into a C5 Corvette. I think they were a tad bit more expensive than what I could get a Boxster for, even a Boxster S back in 2017, but I think around Michigan roads I would have had more fun with it. This would be a little bit easier to work on, more fun to just kind of rumble around and be loud and obnoxious and then go fast in a straight line. I absolutely love driving the Boxster on twisty roads, down at the tail of the Dragon, through some of the few twisty roads here in Michigan. But on straight roads, it is a bit mundane. I mean, it just doesn't have the same amount of power as a big rip-snorting small block V8. But overall ownership, I've been very pleased with it. Haven't had to put in a lot of money. I've done things preventatively. I've done things smart. Done a lot of work on my own, doing my own oil changes, things like that. It's been a good car. It really has. Does feel a little bit slower with the air conditioning on, that's for sure. But hey, when you're only dealing with 250 horsepower, you gotta expect that sort of thing. This Boxster does have heated seats, so those are nice. 2-stage definitely helps in the cooler weather. You have the top down, but your heated seat on, and maybe a little heat blowing from the HVAC. Fun little quirk. It says manual. I assume that's manual in German. There are certain things in the car that I just have German spelling. You'll see some of that on the fuel cap as well. And there you have it. My personal 2001 Porsche Boxster. For anyone interested in buying a Boxster, I would recommend it. Although, like I said, if you live in somewhere that doesn't have a lot of corners, and you're not really, you're not dying to have a German car, you might consider getting something a little more designed for these sort of roads, something like a V8. But it's been a good car. I really do still enjoy driving it. I just don't drive it much these days with the press cars and with my motorcycle. It just doesn't move much. So it's time for it to go to the next owner. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed getting a little glimpse into mid-engine personal car ownership here. If you liked the video, hit that subscribe button. Check out our other reviews and fuel economy tests, and sound system demos, all that good stuff. I'm Charlie from Daily Motor, and as always, drive on.